Las Vegas, July 2010. The Black Hat Security Conference Hall buzzes with hackers, engineers, and cybersecurity experts from 40 countries. 2,000 eyes fix on a single man standing center stage, bathed in spotlight. Barnaby Jack, tall, tattooed, New Zealand accent thick as honey, stands beside two ATMs like a magician preparing his greatest trick. But this isn't sleight of hand. "I'm going to make these ATMs spit out money," he announces. His voice carries confidence that borders on arrogance. Without a card, without a pin, without touching them, the crowd leans forward. Security professionals who've spent careers protecting financial institutions. FBI agents in the back rows, arms crossed. Bank executives whose blood pressure climbs with every word. Someone laughs nervously. This has to be theater, performance art. Nobody can actually hack an ATM on command, live, in front of thousands. Barnaby's fingers dance across his laptop. Lines of code scroll like digital poetry. The room holds its breath. Silence stretches, tightens, becomes unbearable. Then it happens. The first ATM convulses. Its cash dispenser whirs, mechanisms grinding like a slot machine hitting jackpot. $20 bills erupt from the slot. 1, 5, 10, 20, cascading onto the stage floor in a green waterfall. The second machine joins the symphony. Both ATMs vomit money in mechanical seizure, unstoppable, uncontrollable, as if possessed. The crowd erupts. Some cheer. Some stand frozen, mouths open. Bank executives reach for phones with trembling hands. This isn't supposed to be possible. ATMs are fortresses, encrypted, secure, protected by layers of security that cost millions to develop. Barnaby grins. He bows slightly, scooping up handfuls of cash and tossing them to the audience like a rock star throwing roses. "We call this jackpotting," he says. But here's what nobody in that room understands yet. This demonstration will save millions of lives. It will also make Barnaby Jack one of the most dangerous men in cybersecurity. Within 3 years, governments will watch him. Corporations will fear him. And someone, still unknown, might kill him for what he knows. Because the ATMs? That was just the warm-up. The machines Barnaby could hack next weren't filled with money. They were filled with medicine, insulin pumps, pacemakers, devices keeping human hearts beating. And he could make them kill their owners from 300 feet away, wirelessly, invisibly, leaving no trace. How does a curious kid from New Zealand become the hacker who could murder you with a keystroke? And why would he risk everything, his career, his safety, his life, to expose vulnerabilities that powerful people desperately wanted to keep hidden? Barnaby Michael Douglas Jack was born in 1977 in New Zealand, a country better known for sheep farms and rugby than cutting-edge technology. His childhood was unremarkable in most ways. Middle-class family, average schools, the kind of upbringing that produces accountants and teachers, not legendary hackers. But Barnaby was never average. While other kids played outside, young Barnaby sat mesmerized by the family computer, a clunky machine that hummed and whirred like a living thing. He didn't just use it. He studied it, dissected it, understood it the way mechanics understand engines or surgeons understand anatomy. By age 12, he wasn't playing video games. He was rewriting their code, bending digital worlds to his will. His parents didn't understand. How could they? Their son spent hours staring at screens filled with incomprehensible text, muttering about vulnerabilities and exploits and backdoors. To them, computers were tools for word processing and spreadsheets. To Barnaby, they were puzzles, locks begging to be picked. New Zealand in the 1990s wasn't exactly Silicon Valley. The tech scene was small, isolated, years behind America and Europe. But that isolation bred something unique: self-taught brilliance. Without formal education or corporate structure, hackers like Barnaby learned by doing, by breaking, by relentless experimentation. If you wanted to understand how something worked, you took it apart. If you wanted to test security, you tried to breach it. Barnaby's gift wasn't just technical skill, it was vision. He saw connections others missed, vulnerabilities hiding in plain sight. While security experts built walls, Barnaby found the doors they'd forgotten to lock. His mind worked like water, flowing around obstacles, finding every crack, every weakness, every impossible path. By his 20s, Barnaby had moved beyond hobby hacking. He worked legitimate security jobs, the kind where companies pay you to break their own systems before criminals do. But the work felt small, constrained. He was testing firewalls and password systems when he knew, absolutely knew, that the real vulnerabilities were bigger, darker, more dangerous than anyone acknowledged. The financial sector particularly fascinated him. Banks projected invincibility. Their marketing promised fortress-like security, military-grade encryption, impenetrable defenses. But Barnaby saw something different. He saw complexity. And complexity, in cybersecurity, is the enemy of safety. The more sophisticated a system becomes, the more places it can break. ATMs were perfect targets for this philosophy. These machines stood on street corners worldwide, processing billions in transactions daily, trusted completely by institutions and individuals alike. They ran on software. And all software has vulnerabilities. Barnaby began researching in earnest around 2009. Not to steal, not for profit, for proof. He wanted to demonstrate what security professionals refused to believe, that the machines guarding the world's money were fundamentally broken, that the emperor wore no clothes. He acquired ATMs, decommissioned models, second-hand purchases, machines from manufacturers who never imagined someone would study them like archaeological artifacts. In his workspace, surrounded by disassembled cash dispensers and circuit boards, Barnaby went to work. He reverse-engineered firmware, analyzed communication protocols, searched for the hidden commands that manufacturers used for diagnostics and maintenance, and he found them. The vulnerabilities weren't even particularly sophisticated. Many ATMs used default master keys, identical passwords across thousands of machines. Others had USB ports accessible from outside, allowing direct connection to internal systems. Some ran ancient, unpatched operating systems with known exploits. The security was theatrical, designed to look impressive rather than actually function. Barnaby realized he could do more than just steal cash. He could make any ATM in the world dispense its entire contents on command, remotely, wirelessly, invisibly. The question became, what do you do with that kind of power? Some hackers would have stolen millions and disappeared. Others would have sold the exploit to criminal organizations for 7 figures. Barnaby chose something more dangerous and far more noble. He decided to tell the world. Preparing for Black Hat 2010 felt like preparing for war. Barnaby spent months perfecting his exploit, testing and retesting until the demonstration would be flawless. He knew what was at stake. This wasn't some underground hacker forum or private security briefing. Black Hat was the Super Bowl of cybersecurity, where researchers, corporations, and government agencies converged to share the bleeding edge of digital warfare. One mistake, one failure, and his credibility would evaporate. Worse, if he revealed vulnerabilities without proper demonstration, banks would dismiss him as another attention-seeking hacker making empty threats. They'd done it before. Security through obscurity was their favorite strategy. Deny problems exist, attack the messenger, protect the brand. But Barnaby also faced another problem. The ATM manufacturers knew he was coming. Word had leaked through the security community. Barnaby Jack planned to hack ATMs live on stage. The manufacturers, billion-dollar corporations with reputations and stock prices to protect, were terrified. They sent lawyers. They sent cease and desist letters. They called conference organizers demanding Barnaby's presentation be canceled. They argued it was irresponsible, dangerous. That revealing these vulnerabilities would arm criminals worldwide, triggering a wave of ATM thefts that could destabilize financial institutions. They painted Barnaby as reckless, a cowboy hacker more interested in fame than responsible disclosure. Barnaby saw it differently. These vulnerabilities had existed for years, maybe decades. Criminals likely already knew about them. The manufacturers had failed to fix obvious security flaws, prioritizing profit over protection. And now they wanted to silence him to avoid embarrassment and liability. The conference organizers faced an impossible choice: cancel the presentation and appear to be corporate pawns, censoring vital security research, or allow it and potentially bear responsibility for every ATM theft that followed. They chose truth. Barnaby's presentation would proceed, July 28, 2010. Barnaby stood backstage at Caesar's Palace, heart hammering against his ribs. 2 ATMs had been wheeled onto the stage, real machines, fully functional, loaded with actual cash. He'd spent the previous night running final tests, triple-checking every line of code. His exploit had to work. Not might work. Had to. Because if it failed, his career was finished. If it succeeded, everything changed. The auditorium filled. 2,000 attendees packed the hall. security researchers, corporate executives, federal agents, journalists. Some came to learn. Others came to watch Barnaby fail. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation and skepticism in equal measure. Barnaby walked on stage. Spotlight hit him like a physical force. He blinked, steadied himself, found his confidence. This was his moment. Years of research condensed into one 15-minute demonstration. He explained the vulnerabilities with surgical precision, how ATMs were essentially computers running outdated operating systems, how many manufacturers used identical master keys across entire product lines, how physical access to a USB port, often hidden behind a cheap plastic panel, could grant complete control. Then came the magic words, "Let me show you." His fingers moved across the laptop keyboard. The exploit launched silently, invisibly, code flowing through USB connections into the ATM's nervous systems. He was speaking their language now, issuing commands that bypassed every security layer, every authentication protocol, every safeguard the manufacturers had supposedly built. For 10 seconds, nothing happened. The audience murmured. Someone coughed. Barnaby's jaw tightened. Then the first ATM began dispensing cash. Not a trickle, a flood. Bills shot from the dispenser in rapid succession, piling on the stage floor like autumn leaves. The second machine joined moments later, both ATMs ejecting money in perfect synchronization, mechanical slot machines hitting endless jackpot. The crowd exploded. Applause thundered through the hall. People stood, shouted, laughed in disbelief. Camera flashes lit the stage like lightning. Barnaby gathered handfuls of bills and threw them into the audience, a gesture both celebratory and symbolic. "This is how easy it is," the gesture said. "This is how broken your security really is." But not everyone was celebrating. In the back rows, bank executives stood frozen, faces pale. FBI agents whispered urgently into phones. ATM manufacturer representatives hurried toward exits, already calling corporate headquarters with catastrophic news. Barnaby had just humiliated a multi-billion-dollar industry on international television. The presentation ended to a standing ovation. Journalists swarmed him afterward, microphones thrust forward, cameras rolling. "Aren't you afraid criminals will use this?" one reporter demanded. Barnaby's answer was calm, measured, devastating. Criminals already know these vulnerabilities exist. The only people who didn't know were the customers trusting their money to these machines. Now everyone knows. Now the manufacturers have to fix it. Within hours, his demonstration went viral. News networks worldwide ran the footage. "Hacker makes ATM spit cash" became the headline of the day. Security blogs analyzed every detail. The cybersecurity community hailed Barnaby as a hero, the researcher willing to embarrass powerful corporations to protect the public. But in corporate boardrooms and manufacturing facilities, a different conversation was happening. Barnaby Jack had cost them millions in emergency patches, security updates, and damaged reputation. He'd exposed their incompetence and negligence to the world. Some companies thanked him. Others would never forgive him. And Barnaby? He was just getting started. Because ATMs were just machines that held money. The devices he targeted next held something far more valuable: human lives. 2 years after Black Hat, Barnaby Jack sat in his apartment surrounded by medical equipment that would terrify most people. Insulin pumps, pacemakers, implantable cardioverter defibrillators, devices designed to keep diabetics alive, to regulate failing hearts, to shock cardiac arrest victims back from death's edge. Millions of people worldwide depended on these machines every single day. They trusted them completely, the way you trust the ground beneath your feet. Barnaby was learning how to turn them into murder weapons. This wasn't madness. It was mathematics. After the ATM demonstration, his mind had spiraled outward, following a terrifying logical chain. If financial devices, machines handling money, presumably with maximum security, could be hacked so easily, what about medical devices? What about the equipment literally keeping people alive? The question haunted him. He researched medical device security and found something horrifying. There essentially wasn't any. Most medical devices used wireless technology for convenience. Doctors could adjust insulin doses remotely. Pacemakers could transmit data to hospitals without patients visiting. It was modern medicine at its finest, until you realized these wireless systems had virtually no encryption, no authentication, no security protocols worth mentioning. It was like leaving your front door wide open and trusting that nobody with bad intentions would walk through. Barnaby obtained several medical devices through legitimate channels, decommissioned equipment, models available for research. He set up a lab that looked like a mad scientist's workshop crossed with an emergency room. Circuit boards sprawled across tables. Oscilloscopes displayed electrical signals. Wireless antennas pointed at innocent-looking medical pumps like sniper rifles. And then he started breaking them. The insulin pump came first. These devices, worn by diabetics, delivered precise insulin doses throughout the day. Too little insulin, and blood sugar spikes dangerously. Too much, and the patient goes into hypoglycemic shock, seizures, unconsciousness, death. Barnaby discovered he could hijack the pump's wireless signal from 300 feet away. No physical access required, no warning to the victim. He could command the pump to dump its entire insulin reservoir into the patient's bloodstream in seconds. A lethal dose delivered invisibly, leaving no evidence except a dead body and a seemingly malfunctioning device. The perfect murder. But insulin pumps were just the beginning. Pacemakers proved even more vulnerable. These devices, implanted in chests to regulate heartbeats, could be reprogrammed wirelessly. Barnaby found he could stop them completely. Or worse, make them deliver maximum voltage shocks directly to the heart. Death would be instant, agonizing, and look exactly like natural cardiac arrest. He sat back from his workbench, hands shaking slightly, and realized what he'd created. Assassination technology. Government agencies would pay millions for this capability. Criminal organizations would kill for it. Literally. A hitman with Barnaby's exploit could eliminate targets from across the street, through walls, leaving investigators with nothing but mysterious medical device failures. The ethical weight crushed down on him like physical pressure. Some hackers would have weaponized this knowledge, sold it to the highest bidder, disappeared to some non-extradition country with numbered bank accounts. Others would have buried it, too frightened of the consequences to reveal anything. Barnaby chose the hardest path, public disclosure. But this time, the stakes were different. With ATMs, the worst-case scenario was financial loss. With medical devices, revealing vulnerabilities could trigger panic. Diabetics might abandon their insulin pumps. Heart patients might refuse pacemakers. People could die from fear of hacking more readily than from actual hacks. He contacted medical device manufacturers privately first, following responsible disclosure protocols. He sent detailed vulnerability reports. He offered to help develop patches and security updates. He gave them time to fix the problems before going public. Most ignored him completely. Others sent threatening legal letters. One manufacturer's lawyer actually wrote, "These allegations are completely unfounded and represent a reckless attempt to damage our company's reputation. We will pursue all legal remedies if you continue this course of action." Translation: shut up or we'll destroy you. Barnaby realized these corporations were following the same playbook as ATM manufacturers. Deny, deflect, protect the brand. They'd rather risk patient deaths than admit their devices were fundamentally insecure. Recalls meant billions in losses. Admissions of negligence meant lawsuits. Silence was cheaper than safety. So Barnaby decided to make silence impossible. Black Hat 2013 was scheduled for late July in Las Vegas. Barnaby submitted his presentation proposal: implantable medical devices, hacking humans. The description promised live demonstrations of medical device vulnerabilities that could literally kill patients from hundreds of feet away. The response was volcanic. Medical device manufacturers mobilized legal teams. Industry lobbying groups contacted conference organizers. The FDA, terrified of public panic, sent representatives to assess the situation. Some security researchers praised Barnaby's courage. Others accused him of reckless endangerment, arguing that revealing such vulnerabilities would arm terrorists and serial killers. The debate raged across cybersecurity forums, medical journals, and mainstream media. Was Barnaby a hero exposing life-threatening negligence? Or a dangerous extremist playing with people's lives for attention and glory? Barnaby didn't care about the controversy. He cared about the millions of people walking around with hackable devices in their bodies, completely unaware they were vulnerable. He cared about manufacturers prioritizing profits over patient safety. He cared about forcing change, even if that meant becoming the most hated man in medical technology. His presentation was scheduled for July 25, 2013. He spent months preparing, refining his demonstrations, crafting his arguments. This would be his masterpiece, The presentation that would revolutionize medical device security forever, that would save countless lives by exposing unforgivable negligence. Barnaby Jack would finally prove that Psalm, July 2013. San Francisco, 1 week before Black Hat. Barnaby Jack moved through his apartment with the methodical precision of someone who knew exactly what was coming. His presentation was complete, polished, devastating, undeniable. He had video demonstrations. He had technical documentation. He had proof that would shatter the medical device industry's carefully constructed facade of security. But something felt wrong. Friends noticed the change first. Barnaby had always been confident, almost cocky, that tattooed Kiwi hacker who walked into corporate boardrooms and exposed their incompetence with a grin. But now? Now he seemed distracted, paranoid even. He checked over his shoulder. He varied his routines. He told close friends he was being followed, though he never said by whom. Was it paranoia or survival instinct? The stakes had never been higher. His ATM demonstration had embarrassed corporations worth billions. His medical device research threatened an industry worth hundreds of billions. Device manufacturers faced potential recalls, lawsuits, criminal investigations. Executives who'd ignored security warnings for years now faced prison time if negligence was proven. Powerful people had powerful reasons to want Barnaby Jack silenced. He'd received threats before. Vague messages, angry emails, legal intimidation. But lately the threats felt different, more specific, more credible. Someone had been asking questions about him in hacker circles. Someone with resources. Someone willing to pay for information. Barnaby mentioned it to a colleague. If anything happens to me before Black Hat, make sure my research gets published. Promise me. The colleague laughed nervously. Nothing's going to happen. You're just stressed. Promise me. I promise. July 22nd, 3 days before his presentation. Barnaby spent the day finalizing details, running through his demonstrations one last time. Everything worked perfectly. The exploits were clean, reliable, devastating. Medical device manufacturers would have no defense, no excuse, no way to deflect responsibility. That evening, he met friends for drinks in San Francisco. He seemed relaxed for the first time in weeks, almost like his old self. Joking, laughing, telling stories about past hacks and narrow escapes. Around midnight, he said his goodbyes. He had to rest. Big presentation coming up, the one that would change everything. He walked home through San Francisco streets, past closed shops and empty sidewalks, the fog rolling in from the bay like a living thing. Nobody saw him alive again. July 25th, Las Vegas, Caesars Palace. Black Hat attendees filled the conference hall, thousands of security researchers and journalists waiting for Barnaby Jack's presentation. The medical device demonstration everyone had been talking about for months. The presentation that had manufacturers terrified and privacy advocates celebrating. The scheduled time came, the stage remained empty. 10 minutes passed. Conference organizers whispered urgently backstage. Where was he? Barnaby wasn't answering calls. His hotel room was empty. Nobody had seen him since San Francisco. Then the announcement, "We regret to inform you that Barnaby Jack has passed away. His presentation has been canceled." The room went silent. Not the expectant silence before a presentation. The shocked, hollow silence of disbelief. 2,000 people sitting frozen, trying to process impossible information. Passed away? How? When? What happened? Details trickled out slowly, each one raising more questions than answers. Barnaby Jack, age 35, had been found dead in his San Francisco apartment on July 25th, the exact day he was scheduled to reveal medical device vulnerabilities that could assassinate patients remotely and invisibly. The official cause of death, drug overdose. The San Francisco Medical Examiner's Office claimed Barnaby died from an accidental combination of heroin, cocaine, diphenhydramine, and alprazolam. A tragic accident. A brilliant mind destroyed by addiction. But nobody who knew Barnaby believed it. He wasn't a drug user. Friends and colleagues described him as health-conscious, careful, occasionally drinking but never touching hard drugs. No history of addiction. No signs of substance abuse. Nothing that would explain a sudden fatal overdose of multiple drugs on the exact day he was scheduled to expose an industry worth hundreds of billions. The coincidence was impossible to ignore. 3 days before the most important presentation of his career, a presentation that threatened powerful corporations and could save countless lives, Barnaby Jack dies under suspicious circumstances. The medical examiner's report raised even more questions. The toxicology results seemed almost theatrical, multiple drugs, all in lethal quantities, as if someone had wanted to ensure death looked like obvious overdose. But overdose victims rarely use such specific combinations, and people don't accidentally take drugs they've never used before. Barnaby's family demanded further investigation. His friends organized petitions. Security researchers worldwide questioned the official narrative. How does a healthy 35-year-old with no drug history suddenly overdose on multiple substances days before exposing billion-dollar negligence? The San Francisco Police Department declined to investigate further. Case closed. Accidental overdose. Move along. Barnaby's research materials, laptops, hard drives, documentation, everything related to his medical device hacking, were never found. His apartment had been thoroughly cleaned. All evidence of his work simply vanished. The medical device vulnerabilities he'd discovered, never publicly disclosed, the presentation he'd prepared, lost forever. The manufacturers he'd threatened to expose, they issued brief condolence statements and continued business as usual. The conspiracy theories started immediately. On security forums, encrypted messaging channels, and hacker conferences worldwide, people whispered the same question. Was Barnaby Jack murdered? The evidence, circumstantial but damning, piled up like accusation after accusation. A healthy man with no drug history dies from a drug cocktail days before exposing billion-dollar negligence. His research materials vanish completely. Police closed the investigation with barely a glance. Medical device manufacturers breathed collective sighs of relief. Some pointed to the obvious suspects, device manufacturers with everything to lose, billions in market value, potential criminal liability, recalls that could destroy companies. These corporations had motive, means, and opportunity. They'd already tried legal intimidation. When that failed, did they escalate? Others suggested darker possibilities. Intelligence agencies, foreign governments, organizations that understood the weaponization potential of Barnaby's research and wanted it for themselves, or wanted it buried forever. A hacker who could remotely assassinate anyone with a pacemaker? That's not just valuable, that's power. But perhaps the most chilling theory came from those who knew the cybersecurity world best. Maybe multiple groups wanted Barnaby dead. Maybe medical device manufacturers hired someone to stop the presentation. Maybe intelligence agencies decided his knowledge was too dangerous to exist. Maybe it was pure coincidence, a tragic overdose whose timing just happened to be impossibly convenient. We'll never know. The investigation ended before it began. What we do know is this: Barnaby Jack's death accomplished exactly what his life fought against: silence, secrecy, security through obscurity. His medical device research remained hidden for years. The vulnerabilities he'd discovered, exploits that could kill patients remotely, stayed secret, unpatched, actively dangerous. Device manufacturers continued selling vulnerable equipment. Millions of people walked around with hackable devices in their bodies, completely unaware. But Barnaby's work didn't die with him. Other researchers picked up the torch. In 2016, the FDA finally issued official guidance on medical device cybersecurity, recommendations Barnaby had been demanding since 2012. Major manufacturers began implementing encryption and authentication protocols. Security researchers started examining medical devices with the same scrutiny they'd applied to financial systems. The changes came slowly, reluctantly, years too late, but they came. In 2017, former Vice President Dick Cheney revealed he'd had his pacemaker's wireless functionality disabled in 2007, specifically because doctors feared assassination via hacking. The vulnerability Barnaby died trying to expose? Government officials had known about it for years and protected themselves while keeping the public ignorant. That revelation vindicated everything Barnaby fought for. The vulnerabilities were real, the dangers were genuine, and powerful people had hidden the truth while millions remained at risk. Today, Barnaby Jack is remembered as a legend in cybersecurity circles. Conferences hold tributes. Security researchers cite his work as inspiration. The term jackpotting, making ATMs dispense cash, became permanent hacker vocabulary, a monument to his most famous demonstration. But his legacy is complicated, wrapped in questions that will never be answered. Did he push too hard? Should he have worked within the system instead of publicly embarrassing corporations? Would he still be alive if he'd been more cautious, more diplomatic, more willing to compromise? Or was he exactly what the world needed? A hacker brave enough to tell truths that powerful people wanted hidden, regardless of personal cost? The medical devices Barnaby hacked are more secure now. Not perfect. Not invulnerable, but better. Encrypted communications, authentication protocols, security patches, changes implemented because one tattooed hacker from New Zealand refused to stay silent. Lives have been saved because Barnaby Jack existed. How many? Impossible to calculate. Every diabetic whose insulin pump can't be hijacked. Every heart patient whose pacemaker resists remote attacks. Every person with an implanted medical device that's slightly more secure because manufacturers were forced to care about cybersecurity. Barnaby never saw those victories. He died 3 days before his greatest triumph, his research stolen or destroyed, his voice silenced at the moment it mattered most. Was it murder? Accident? Government conspiracy? Corporate assassination? Medical examiners' reports and police investigations provide official answers. But official answers aren't always true answers. In his final conversation with friends, Barnaby Jack said something that echoes with tragic prescience. Some vulnerabilities are too important to hide, even if revealing them destroys you. He was right, and it did. On July 25, 2013, while thousands of security researchers sat in a Las Vegas conference hall waiting for a presentation that would never happen, Barnaby Jack's body lay in a San Francisco apartment, his secrets gone, his voice forever stilled. The medical device industry continued business as usual. Police filed their reports. News cycles moved on to the next story. But in hacker circles, in cybersecurity labs, in encrypted channels where researchers share knowledge that powerful people would rather keep hidden, Barnaby Jack's name carries weight, not just as a brilliant hacker, as a martyr, a cautionary tale, a reminder that some truths are dangerous to speak. He proved that ATMs could be hacked when experts said it was impossible. He proved that medical devices could kill patients when manufacturers denied vulnerabilities existed. He proved that exposing uncomfortable truths costs more than reputation or career. Sometimes it costs everything. The hacker who stole millions just to prove a point never kept a dollar. He gave it all away. The money, the fame, the safety, the life, in pursuit of a single, uncompromising belief that security through secrecy is no security at all, that people deserve to know the dangers they face, that truth matters more than corporate profit or government convenience. Barnaby Jack died trying to save lives. Whether someone killed him for it remains the final terrible vulnerability, the one exploit nobody could patch, the one attack that succeeded completely. His last presentation was never delivered. His research disappeared. His death remains officially accidental. But his message survived. The devices protecting you might be the ones killing you. And the only thing more dangerous than revealing that truth is letting powerful people keep it hidden.